You're watching the Tesla Live with your host, Mark Codland.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tesla Live number 363. Here we are, the 12th of June, 2024, and I think it's a lovely day here in Southern Ontario, and I'm hoping it is for my co-hosts as well. Joining us, as always, Mr. Casey Green from the Mid-Atlantic states. How are you today, sir?
Doing all right. Way better than Monday. Monday we had not the tornadoes, and power was out in the area for about 20 hours for some of the people who had it the worst. We would have been 12 if we didn't have the batteries, but instead it was like 2. Only because the batteries froze. Like, they're not like physically frozen, but like they had a software glitch, and I had to go reboot them. And
but today you're good, right?
Today I'm good. The battery is at like 80% from the sun. The other one is at 80% because that's the rule I have it set to just recharge to 80, just in case. And
that's good.
Beautiful out.
That's good. And I can tell from the sun in Patrick's room that it must be nice in the northwestern area of the U.S. How are you today, sir?
I'm good. It is a lovely spring day here. And hello, Tesla Nation. Do you know what today is? Today is your last chance to vote in the annual shareholder meeting. So the meeting is tomorrow. If you want to vote your shares, today is your last chance. Unless you go to the meeting, you can vote them in person at the event, which I'm not sure why you'd ever want to do it that way and force them to count them in the last minute. But that's important. And I thought I had voted, and then I got a notice, and I actually have Tesla shares in 2 different accounts, and this I hadn't voted for the second account. Although that one has a lot fewer shares, so it's not really that important. But I just did that right before the show. So that's why it's top of mind. So I don't know that there's ever been a more important vote for shareholders. And yeah, please go vote. It's
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, there's going to be, this vote could have some big changes to how the company moves forward and what who their leadership is, who's on their board. It could have a lot of impacts.
I still voted against Murdoch. I have every time he's been up. Besides that, after you've done your vote, you can then take your proof of voting, not what you voted, but your proof of voting, and go over to tesla.com, ir.tesla.com, and submit that proof, and you can get in the running to have a factory tour and I think it's factory tour and a meet and greet with some of the execs.
Yeah, I thought Elon and Franz were going to be the ones giving you the factory tour.
There we go.
Yeah. So that would be pretty.
They don't know anything about the factory, so it's going to be a bad tour.
They will just be talking about the weather and stuff.
Only the guy who slept at all of them.
Your volume down and your mic just a bit. It's a bit booming. So
okay.
A little bit. Only the guy who slept at all the factories and the guy who had to make the cars look good and come out of the factories looking nice.
Is that better or worse?
That's good.
That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so there is, of course, if you haven't done the vote, get to it after the show. And as Casey said, submit your proof so you can be in the draw. Why not? You may as well. Yeah. It's an extra bonus that you don't have to pay for.
Yeah. Plus, I'm sure you probably have some questions with one of them. So.
Exactly. Well, let's move on to our first story of this week. And this one is one that we have talked about for a long time. But again, Tesla has updated their software and sent out an automatic wiper update that's going out to help us poor beleaguered owners of Teslas with auto wipe feature that we've had some bumps in the road along the way. But this time they've incorporated some learning, apparently, into the wiper button. So you know that if we can't get an auto wipe to happen when we need it to happen, you press the little button on the stock and it wipes at that point and pushes it forward at that moment in time.
Didn't they say that already was an input to deep brain?
Yeah, I thought so.
Well, now apparently the pushing of the button is going to hold the sensitivity of how often you've pressed it for a longer period of time during the.
What was it doing before?
So it's supposed to, as you're pressing it, it's learning for that particular moment in time and a few moments after it. It's going to I guess they're saying be more sensitive for a period of time, not forever, but for a period of time. So they're hoping that the system will wipe more often during that sensitivity stage, and not, then you won't have to press the button as many times as you have been to get the sensitivity up. So that is part of the learning that's going on with this update that's been sent. But again, as we've discussed here before a few times, I'll believe it when I see it.
Right.
Yeah.
I wonder if their track record with auto wipe has not been good. It's gotten better. I admit that it has gotten better, but still, I find myself having to, when on auto wipe, I find myself having to supplement it with a few stock pushes as we're going along. So it's or you have to not up to spec.
Yeah, that or you have to turn it to full manual and slow it down, because even though it accepts the voice command slow wipers, it's a slow wiper. Nothing happens. But even more annoying than that, I mean, because those are just annoyances. For me, the part that always got me was every now and then there's an update and enough rain where the car will wipe my A-pillar with the wipers. It's like, they don't need to leave the glass. Just please stay on. And I've got enough windshield. It's the largest windshield before the Cybertruck came out of consumer automotive field. So there's no reason to leave.
But you've now lost that title, so they don't care.
I'm legacy anyway. Who cares?
You're just a legacy vehicle, my friend. Welcome to the club.
Yes.
And actually, Patrick and my Model 3 are now legacy as well.
Welcome to the club, babies.
Yep, we are. We are in the bottom tier now. That's just the way it goes. Special hello to Lee Moon and Anders, JT, Highlander, all have joined us in the chat room. Hello to everybody. Welcome.
Indeed.
Although the only way you can get the free premium connectivity for life is to have a legacy vehicle.
There you go.
Or pay $20,000 extra on a Cybertruck for a Foundation series.
Right. Yes.
Exactly.
That was never one they transferred over, was it? You had Autopilot or
Supercharging
free
for
charging.
life.
Yeah. But never the connectivity.
Right. I think you're right.
That would have been an easy, cheap win for them.
Another story that we've been covering for some time and has now actually happened is Proofrock 3 has broken ground inside of Gigafactory, Texas. And
inside the factory. Interesting.
We've got the proof that we're going to share here. Here we go.
Proofrock.
Proof of Proofrock.
Yeah, there it is inside the building. I would have never expected it to, but it's a big up building, so that makes sense.
I like how it's
cool.
The time lapse where they're showing it just starting to break ground, makes little dirt piles, and then they decide to help it out by moving the dirt with some bulldozers inside.
Did it need help?
You'll see it, and it wets the ground, right? You see the ground get wet?
Mm-hmm.
That's because, of course, Proofrock is spraying, as Patrick and I were talking before the show. It just sprays some water, of course, to reduce the friction that the head has to compensate for the hard earth it's chewing through.
Lubricant.
Yeah.
It's like when you're drilling through metal.
Do they have a long hose that goes all the way out the other end?
Yeah, that's all it is a garden hose, I'm sure.
It's probably tanks on board.
And as mentioned, of course, with this now appearing in the south end of the new Gigafactory extension that was built, behind it, which you can't see in this video, it's actually has laid the concrete segments to keep the tunnel, structurally sound. So really, I think all that would be left after this has been cleaned up somewhat is to build those ramps, make a flat surface on the inside of the tunnel for driving on, and install some electrical for some lights. Maybe some communication wires are going to be strung as well while they have it. But this is going to be apparently up and active in July of this year.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, that's fast.
So they are
once
the thing is through, really the hard work is over, because the walls are the concrete segments are already in place and solid.
Yeah. You don't need as much ventilation as a regular tunnel because there's no combustion happening.
That's right. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. There was a few videos. We've linked them, of course, in our Twitter feed if you want to follow us there at the Tesla Life, and you can see what we've put in place through the week. And of course, you can see what happens throughout the week at any time as we update it daily.
So we won't see Cybertrucks pile up next to the Gigafactory.
That's right. Since it's actually inside the factory now, they'll be driving down that ramp. You won't see them until they pop out the other side, on the other side of the freeway, in the basically the loading lot for exit out of the plant.
I wonder if they'll circle the Model Ys through there, or no.
I would think, why not? Like it would. Yeah, why not? But I think it would make more sense because, of course, they're trying to, with the volume that's going to be happening as the volume goes up, they don't want to have drivers, have to go around the freeway, down to another exit, go underneath the freeway, and come back. They'd much rather just use the tunnel. So I wonder if I would think it would make sense if they were pushing both vehicles out that same tunnel, because it's going to save everyone time.
Yeah. I'm curious now also then if they're going to use a similar arrangement to what they did with the one-way boring loop, where they had that spur for a couple months. Is it going to be on a timer? Like, all right, now we're going to go back the other way. Or are they going to have like a traffic light? Or are they going to have the flaggers with the pole that has stop and slow?
I think this will be mostly one way from the factory over to the lot for pickup and delivery.
Then you put a bunch of people in probably a Model X 7-seat and bring them back the other way.
Yeah, I would think that the vast majority will be heading out, and it probably would make sense if they find some deficiency on the other side, that they would probably just drive it the normal surface route.
Well, if they bring back a car, but I meant to bring back their drivers.
Right. The drivers make sense too. To have.
But this is
but of course, if this becomes if it becomes overwhelming for whatever reason, there's no reason that they couldn't put another tunnel under the first tunnel or beside it,
or next to it.
Yeah. So,
but also this would be a better scenario for them to train the automation through the tunnel, because now they own the whole company rather than it being an affiliated company. They're right there at the factory with the engineers. Might we see the boring automation by next year?
I would think, though, Casey, that if they were going to use that for that type of training, that the boring company, which is already set up in Texas now as well, would just put their own tunnel underground and do their own testing, because they have the engineers there, right, at their headquarters. But that's the other thing, is as we've mentioned before, is that we still haven't seen the evidence of full self-drive for a tunnel in Las Vegas, which we thought that would probably be a slam dunk to be the first one to try, because it's just easier and there's less things to worry about.
And not only that, that's one of the 3 states that has automated driving permits.
Yeah. So we're still waiting, not seeing it yet.
Yeah, it would be interesting if the cars could drive themselves over to this delivery lot. Just
Like you get the
go
QC
down the
stamp and then it
tunnel.
just leaves.
Yeah, exactly. And then you don't have to worry about how you shuttle the drivers back and forth.
Right. Pat it on the butt like a piece of livestock.
Yeah, get along, little doggy. It is Texas.
It is Texas.
Exactly. Next, I wanted to share another chart. We talked about this last week as well. And this chart shows a little Tesla poll that we ran recently. And that was, who do you think will be the first to install a NACS connector on their sellable to the public EV? And had 4 choices out there: Ford, Rivian, GM, Aptera. And it looks like Ford overwhelmingly is voted the first that will have that. So we will have to see as it rolls out if Ford will be first. But
the only way Aptera wins this is if their car comes out like tomorrow.
True. And,
I like the one comment there from the snarky EV cult leader, Tesla. Well, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Tesla was the first. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think a show called The Tesla Life might be aware of that.
only since 2012, no big deal.
Exactly. So we're anxious to see that happen. That will be, again, moving in the right direction. We've got many different manufacturers that have indicated that almost every one of them has indicated that they're moving to NACS, and the dates of 2025. But of course, we don't know if that meant model year or the actual physical year before they start to show up. So there are already some model 2025s that are out, and they like. The Chevy Equinox is a 2025, and of course, no NACS plug yet. So,
Oh, and for the pedantic out there, I have a correction to make already. Yes, Tesla didn't have any NACS ports on their vehicles until they announced NACS, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
I had to get my car retrofitted for a NACS plug, even though it's 6 years old.
Next, talk a little bit about the end of the quarter is coming up, of course, in about 2 weeks and a bit. And the pushing has started already. Actually, I'm kind of surprised the pushing didn't start at the very beginning of June. We're 12 days in. But this push is coming for European and UK owners or potential owners, that free supercharging is being given for the purchase of a vehicle that's picked up within the second quarter. 15,000 miles in the UK of supercharger miles are being given, which is a good amount, especially if you're in the UK, which is not all that big of a country. Obviously, you can take the channel and leave onto the European continent, but if you're thinking of buying a Tesla there or in Europe, might be a good time to think about it, because you're going to get some free travel, and you could maybe roll a summertime holiday into the purchase of the car, which would be a nice little bonus.
Yeah. Oh, what is the average year? 12,000 miles.
There's a trick though. See, this is a scam, because they don't drive miles over there; they drive kilometers. So you get nothing.
The British do drive miles.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
but of course, as soon as you cross the channel, the car stops working immediately.
We promised you free miles. Don't think you're going to be free kilometers.
Don't think you're going to be using your miles on kilometers over here. Not going to happen.
I forget, Mark. Does it auto changes as you change the country, right? Or do you have to go?
No, it does not. Not between Canada and the U.S. anyways.
Okay, that's what I was getting at. Yeah.
It's up to the driver to make the change on the setup screen. So, and of course that makes sense, because if you're used to the mileages from your country, you may want to say, well, I know that 60 miles is 100 kilometers, so I'm just going to keep it the way it is. But when I'm driving in the States, which of course is going to be coming up just in a couple of days, I always change the mileages and the measurement system as I'm crossing the bridge. Although I don't change it to Fred, I keep it in Celsius.
Well, that's one thing I do like about it. You get to pick each. So like your speed can be kilometers and your distance can be miles.
Yep.
or vice versa.
So, yeah, any of our European viewers over there, if you've changed, have you ever found it's changed on its own? I'd be surprised if it does, but I'd be interested to know if we're wrong.
You'd have to go to England, right? I mean, everywhere else is.
Yeah, everywhere else is metric. Yeah. So if anyone's traveling to England in their Tesla and knows for sure, put it in the comments. Let us know. Next, let's move on to a story about the Model Y that Casey's got for us.
Yes. So we have a master of saying stuff at Tesla. And
who could that be?
Who could it be? Previously, he said that the Model Y is not getting a refresh this year. But if you think back a year and remember, he said that the Model 3 wasn't getting a refresh this year. And it didn't in the States. But it did in China. So I'm curious now that he's reaffirmed this. Is this going to be not anywhere in the world, and then January 2nd it shows up in China? Or because what the reason this is coming about is we've seen spy shots of what looks like is probably Juniper in Giga Berlin, because it looks exactly like what we saw when the Model 3 was not getting updated. He went ahead and said, yeah, 6 months ago, the car is not as good as it is now, which is true, but it's not the same thing as a refresh. So what do you guys think?
Well, like you said, I think it has a lot to do the small updates that we've seen. Like we saw an update to the internal lighting on the Model Y in China. And that's because, I believe, they ran out of parts or were running out of parts. And they said, you know what? We got to order the new parts anyways. We're getting a better deal if we go with this. And they chose it because why restock yourself with a part that's going to be obsolete in a while anyways when you can just get the new part and start rolling those out. So those little pieces and changes may still happen with the Model Y worldwide whenever maybe the part spin starts to deplete. As we saw recently with the rims on the Model Y. Yeah. The silvers hung around for, what was it, a week? And then they said you can buy the black ones for an extra charge, and then all of a sudden, about a week later, the silver ones were gone and the black ones were the same price. So that is classic. We're running out of parts, and we may as well do the transition now.
Yeah, the other part of it is you also get a chance to get a localized test run of this and work out any of the bugs that might come about with either the supply, the installation, or any sort of training about anything that's different between the parts. Largely they'd be the same, but there could be like now you're plugging something in, whereas before it was just a piece of plastic. So
yeah.
And then we talked about going stockless. That's a hurdle that some people are not going to overcome quickly. It feels different. It's weird. I don't know. Then they'll buy some other vehicle. So right now, with the Model Y being the best-selling vehicle in the world, it's not broke. Don't fix it. I think that's the reason that they're pushing out these changes.
I am curious though how folks are doing with the Palladium cars and the Highland that Elon also says doesn't exist. The Highland, how they're doing with the new updates for the ability for the car to figure out where you're trying to go.
Automatic shifting. Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be a bit of a learning curve, as Patrick had said. I've test-driven a Highland, and it was weird to have the shifter on the screen, or, of course, you've got the buttons as a backup. I don't know what it is, but I think the same with you, Patrick, is that if you have the choice, you take the stocks because just used to it. That's the way it is, you know, and I feel the same way. What about you, Casey? If you had the choice, would you go stockless or would you take the stocks?
It wasn't that big a deal for me. The hardest part for me when I drove the Palladium Model X was that it's the opposite muscle memory from what I do. So for me to go drive, it's a flick down with my right hand and like thumb or pinky, and on the Plaid it was up, which is a reverse for me. And so it was like when I drive a Japanese car, like I have no trouble remembering that the blinker's on this side and the wipers are on this side until somebody distracts me, and then I'm wiping instead of blinking.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah, all those muscle memories are like, okay, where we were just talking about the auto rain wipers. Okay, how do you do that if you don't have a stock? Where's that button to push? I'm sure it's somewhere on the steering wheel, but now I don't know, and now there's rain on the window, and I have to look at my steering wheel, and I don't know. I don't want to relearn all that.
Yeah, and certainly if you've got maybe 2 cars in the family and you're going in between them, then that really messes you up because you're
yes.
And if they're 2 Teslas, even worse because they look the same, they feel the same until you get in one and realize that there is nothing there. I can't. Okay, that's right. It's on the wheel. That's different. So
I think that would be a nice menu option if they could flip that around. Just move the car icon around so that way it matches your stocked Tesla. So down is drive, and down is the car going forward to the car. Because now instead of pointing to the top of the screen, it's pointing to the bottom of the screen.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Take it. It's free.
We'll see how people continue with this, and we'll see how things change from old to new. And speaking, what a great segue. Speaking of old to new, let's check out these photos that show the difference between old and new. And that, of course, is the original Tesla Roadster and the Cybertruck. Look at the toy blue car that they put in the parking lot beside the Cybertruck. I just can't get over how small it looks. Like, look at that shot. Like, the car's basically a skateboard compared to the Cybertruck. What an incredible difference.
I still haven't sat in one. I had the opportunity, but it just gave me like reminders of the Acura NSX first gen. I had a chance to sit in one of those, and it not only did it steal my keys, but my head was hanging up above the crash bar. So I was like, and that was smaller.
Yeah, that's a shocking difference, really. Looking at those two.
I did get to test drive the original Roadster. It was a lot of fun.
I spotted an original Roadster in a mall in the Toronto or the GTA area, and I was just shocked at the smallness of it. Like, just walking up to it, how, my midsection was above the car, and I was like, wow.
Yes.
Can you imagine climbing into this thing? Like, okay, climbing in, no problem. Gravity takes you most of the way. But climbing out is going to be the issue in that case.
Yes.
Before the show, they told me that my audio was a little sensitive. I was using a different microphone.
Oh, that's why. Yeah. Coming in much clearer now.
Thank you. Sorry.
We've got a story that came out. Of course, we know about the massive job cuts that happened just recently. But what's happened recently on the American website is that the careers page has opened up again, and new job postings have appeared.
We told you this.
This is classic Elon form, where his mantra is if you haven't hurt yourself with a cut, you haven't cut far enough, because you can always hire back. And that's basically what's happening here, is that they've cut into a section where, obviously somebody had said, okay, we really need the staff in order to keep the numbers up or to keep our quota the same or growing. And someone has agreed. And of course, that's gone up the chain because Elon had indicated that there was going to have to be approvals for jobs going in the future. So posting of jobs would be scrutinized. And apparently they have been, because the U.S. webpage has opened up and a few jobs have started to appear again.
I don't think you could do this without shooting yourself in the foot every time. Like, maybe let's cut 10 people. All right, let's cut another 10 people. And keep on going until, oh, wait, we can't cut those people, otherwise everything will stop.
Actually, I love your analogy of Casey about the parachute.
Oh, it's Patrick's.
Oh, was it? Okay. So the analogy is, okay, we've got to jump. We've got to get out of this plane, but the parachute isn't quite ready yet. But we could pack it on the way down. So throw the chute out and let's go after it. We'll pack it because we're doing nothing as we're falling anyways. Get that chute together, and then we'll pull the ripcord and land safely.
And meanwhile, the unfolded chute is like spinning you around and flipping you, and the unintended consequences of it all.
The chaos that ensues in the interim is problematic. Yes.
And anybody watching this is biting their teeth, like, "Oh man, are they gonna make it? Or are they gonna go
it's like a cliffhanger every time. It's like you don't have to do this, you know. Yes, if you do it Casey's way and you cut 5% and then you cut another 3% and you cut another 2%, there's multiple cuts. It takes longer. I get it, but you're not cutting so far that you're hurting your progress in sense. But that's I'm sure there are two. Obviously, in Elon's mind, it makes more sense to do the one cut immediately and then say, you know what, we probably didn't need those people anyways. We'd be better off hiring new hires anyways. So I'm sure that type of thing is rolled into it as well. But this is the way it is. And of course, if you are hired at Tesla, keep that in the back of your mind that, you know, this is how this company operates. So you need to be aware of that before you accept a job there and think that it's going to be like any other job. It's not.
Yeah, my way would go better with both.
Yeah.
What?
Keep your resume up to date.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my way would be better on the employees and the customers, because they already have difficulty with customer service, and you know, we have heard the stories about the folks who just got in the car and then when they got there, their badges didn't work. There'd be less of that if people knew, all right, there's another one coming out this month. Is it going to be me? They'd at least check their email before they leave the office. Although some of them, their commute was long enough that it was sent while they were in transit. And in most states, I think all states, you can't use handheld devices while you are driving. So you wouldn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that is, at least they have started to move in the other direction again. So we will see. We will see as this goes along. And of course, a year down the line, maybe two.
Yeah, probably two.
Tesla has proved that this is an ongoing thing. So this will go through this again, just maybe not as severe as this time, but you never know.
Yeah, if you ever worked at GE or any of the old tech companies, Microsoft, Oracle, the stack ranking is alive and well with the Elon codes.
Yeah.
You may not call it that, but that's exactly what it is. Only faster and more chaotic.
Next, Patrick's got a story for us about false advertising and what's going to happen with Tesla.
That's right. So this is from Drive Tesla Canada by Matt Wilson, and it's titled "Tesla Must Face False Advertising Case Over Autopilot and Full Self-Driving." So I encourage you to read the entire article, but here's the few main points. The California DMV is suing Tesla, claiming that the public statements made about their self-driving technology created unrealistic expectations among customers. Tesla has attempted to have the case dismissed, arguing free speech, First Amendment provisions, and that the capabilities of their driver assist features were adequately explained to customers. The judge did not buy that. The judge said, no, false advertising is not shielded by the First Amendment. This has to go to trial to determine if it was false advertising. So the case moves forward. They have just 2 points here about what Autopilot is. It's an advanced driver assistance system. It can steer, accelerate, and brake within its own lane. It still requires the driver to be attentive and ready to take over at any time. Full self-driving supervised adds additional features to that. The ability to recognize and respond to traffic signals, make lane changes, navigate city streets, and it also requires active driver supervision. So there's the nuts and bolts. There's the gist of the article. So my take on this, I'm a Tesla fan. I use FSD. I drove 150 miles with it yesterday. It worked great. No one is forced to buy this. Tesla's never claimed that it's level 5, that you can just crawl in the back and take a nap. So I'm not even sure why the DMV is the one bringing this. They're not usually a consumer advocate organization. If they're really
They
are,
usually just piss off everybody.
yeah.
No matter who's like when I was at the dealerships, we didn't like the DMV. The customers, they didn't like the DMV. Equal opportunity pissed off at this.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how this case plays out. That's for sure. But if you don't like it, don't buy it. I just don't get it. I don't see, and I don't think there's anybody who bought it assuming that it was really just going to be where they could say, I want to go here, and then just get on their phone and sit in the driver's seat. So I don't get the justification behind the lawsuit at all.
Yeah. The only way I can see this without them explaining themselves, the only way I can see this is if they conflated stuff that Elon said with stuff the company said. But the company has been rather consistent on how all this works and what it can do and forward-looking statements, etc., blah blah blah.
Exactly.
And even Elon, with his super optimism and not knowing how to work a clock, he's been rather consistent with it as well. Like the worst you could say is that he said it's coming every year, and that sometimes when he has an interview he goes like this. But there's people with cars that don't have any automation, maybe just cruise control, that will go like this sometimes while they're talking.
Right. It's forward-looking statements are under a safe harbor clause, and so that's not a promise of what you can buy today. And
the Model X demo is also the only other one, but that one had all this text at the bottom that's not now.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I'm really curious how it's going to play out. We'll keep an eye on it here for sure and report on things as they develop.
Do you think that it would be any different if the name of the product was not Autopilot or not full self-driving supervised? If they called it Popsicle and Creamsicle, do you think that the same scrutiny from the DMV would be on them?
No, because look at all the other people who have very similar names for what they do, and nobody bats an eye. You've got ProPilot Assist and Blue Cruise and Ultra Cruise, and come on. And then when you look at the definition of the word autopilot, it meets it. Except that you're not flying through the air.
Right. So I don't know, Mark. I think that some people just hear that name and make assumptions, and we've had that discussion about how the name is so deceptive. I disagree with it, but I could see how some people would assume that. And but then again, we see the same thing with car fires. So somehow, if it happens to a Tesla, it's a huge, big news. But the 150,000 gas car fires that happen every year are not big news.
You can't even find a write-up in the local paper, the town where it happened.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know, the two-edged sword that Tesla attracts media attention. This is one of the cases where it cuts the wrong way, and so it might not matter what they call it.
Well, don't forget also that the original implementation of cruise control was called Auto-Pilot, and it wasn't this confusion and people not knowing what the heck it meant that caused it to change. It was because the people who introduced it were losing out to the people who called it cruise control, and when you advertise to people the way they used to and kind of still do, when they ask if you have cruise control, you say, no, we've got autopilot. It's like saying we've got cruise control at home and you've got the strings and the... So they just renamed it. And
right. That was just marketing more than anything
exactly.
else. Yeah. And I don't find the name all that... I mean, I wrote an article that said hoverboards don't hover and sea monkeys aren't monkeys.
Where's my darn
hoverboard? They're not?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Brian Shrimp.
Wow.
And Tesla's full self-driving doesn't full self-drive at this point in time. It's an ambitious, what is the word I'm looking for? that's where they want to get to, right? It's a name. It's that they're taking as their North Star. That's where they're going, and that's why it was beta, and now it's supervised. And the plan is to get to a point where it truly is full self-driving level 5, but that's not what they're advertising its capabilities are today. And that's why they have the caveats as part of the name, and all the statements about when it's going to do that are all forward-looking statements.
Yeah. I had a situation yesterday where I came upon a road where they flipped you on the side of the road for construction, and they had the flagger. And in the past, I would have left autopilot on because it would see that I was in the lane, it would just hold it. But with this one, I let it go for a little bit, and it started towards where the flagger was, and so I manually steered out, and I had to, because I've steered and somebody thinks that they know better than me, turned off my cruise control. So then I also did the foot thing until, actually I did the foot thing the whole time, because you can't turn on cruise control if you have FSD turned on. And genius. I thought about turning it on, but the spacing of the cones was just a little wide, so I thought the car might have tried to correct and gone back to the correct side of the road, so I didn't even attempt. But I wanted to, just to see what it would do.
Finally, there was a construction site. The cones were not spaced too far apart. I decided to see how it would work. It worked great. It nice. Even went into, it crossed the double yellow line, following the cones, following the car in front of me, went through the whole construction zone, and I'm at the ready. I mean, the whole time, like, feet are hovering. I'm ready to grab up, because, it's a construction zone. I don't want it to do anything horrible, but it managed through the whole thing. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I did have another one on the freeway where they didn't have a cone budget, apparently. And, and so they were normal distance apart, and the car knew exactly what to do. But same thing, I was ready. But this one, I was like, they're so far apart. It's probably just going to assume that there was an obstruction, and we're past it, get back on the side of the road, and let's run into the steamroller.
Yeah, and it's stupid when construction people do that, because if the car could get confused, so could a driver. And every once in a while, drivers do think, okay, am I supposed to go between these two because they're so far apart? Right. Yeah. Especially at the part where you're forcing them to merge. Once you're going in the new lane, they don't need to be as. But you have to have a lot of them on the parts where you want them to change lanes, and they often don't have enough.
I like that they had no cone budget. You would think that would be priority one. Is if we're going to block off lanes and protect our workers, we need not only a cone budget, we need a double cone budget for sure.
Oh, those ones that we replaced on the last one, they're coming on the next project too. Yeah, get some free cones.
Well, with that, I think we're going to end the show tonight. I do want to remind people, though, if you haven't already, please give us that thumbs up on the video. Press that subscribe. It really helps us out. It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps the show out immensely. It helps us to grow, get in front of new eyeballs. So please help us out by doing that. We would really appreciate it. And if you know somebody that likes to talk Tesla, please feel free to forward the show to somebody else. Let them know that we're out there, and we can, again, get some more eyeballs on the show and help that algorithm get into our favor. So also, you can follow us through the week on our Twitter feed at The Tesla Life and our Facebook feed, The Tesla Life #1. And we update that throughout the week, and you can see our updates at any time. With that, let's start with Patrick. Any shout-outs from you this week?
As always, I'm with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. I blog occasionally at carswithcords.net, where I write about my future free from fossil fuels. Thank you. Oh, and Lee Moon. Yes, you named your Model Y Atlantis. That is cool.
Casey, any shout-outs from you?
Yes. So coming up in 2 days, we've got the Tesla Life Express, where you can catch us right here, same time, same place. And you're going to learn something new. And then on Sunday, you've got me over at youtube.com/Casey Green, where you're going to hear some more about whatever happened after this that Tesla was up to, some of these recalls for Tesla and others, and then if there are any, and then just whatever's kind of fun stuff to talk about for the weekend. We have a little chit chat. Let's chat with Casey Green and friends, and an
update on Casey's project.
That's right. An update on the hvnomads.com. And then again on Monday, same time, same place right here, you catch us for another Tesla Life Express, followed up by same time, same place on Wednesday for another live episode of the Tesla Life Show.
Absolutely. Absolutely. With that, I want to thank Lee Moon for the music we use every week for intro and outro. And we certainly appreciate it, Lee. And with that, let's wrap it for the week. And we will see you again shortly on the Tesla Life Express.
Stay positive, test negative.